So, little known fact about me. I used to briefly have a job working at Animal Kingdom at Walt Disney World in Florida. It was all part of me being accepted into the Disney College program while I was a junior in college in Kentucky. The fact that I even applied for this job was crazy, since I had never been away from my home for more than a week, and now here I was applying for a job 800 miles away for 6 months. I wasn't just coming out of my shell with this trip. I was coming out of the shell, smashing it, and rearranging it as a megaphone to yell out, "I'm socially awkward, but I'm working on it!" Plus it was Disney! How could I pass it up? I knew it was going to be one of those jobs where I could go around and just casually throw it into any conversation to spice things up. Oh, you're watching Toy Story. Well, that's cool, that's cool. You know, I worked for Disney for a bit. You did? Oh, have I not talked about that? I would say as I would play out the scenario in my head. So I get down there, go through the long process of registering myself to work for the park, or maybe it was sign my soul away, not sure which, and mentally prepare myself for what I could possibly be working as. I remembered that I had marked on my application to be an attractions worker, which means I would be at one of the rides. That, in my mind, would obviously be the most fun and rewarding place to work in the park. I just didn't know where I was going to go. I could have been a creepy butler inside the Hollywood Tower of Terror, a tour guide inside the Great Hollywood Ride, rest in peace. I didn't know. But the worker I met that was handing out job roles came to me and told me I would be a safari driver in Animal Kingdom. And in order to qualify for this position, I had to answer 2 questions.
Do you have a valid driver's license?
Yes.
Have you ever been in an accident?
No.
Congrats, you're a driver!
I've also heard rumors that you have to have a great voice to be picked for the job, but I'll just leave that as unconfirmed for now. Now, if you've never been on the safari rides in Animal Kingdom, it's basically an open-sided bus that you sit in that goes into a live animal reserve where everything is free roaming and could even walk next to the bus if they wanted to. As a safari guide, I had to drive said bus through the reserve while also pointing out any animals that were within view and give some facts about them to the crowd on my little headset mic, like any good safari guide would. And believe me, I have plenty of stories I can tell during my time at this place, for the animals and the people alike. But for this video, I want to focus on the animals, because their moments stick out most in my mind. I may do a separate video on the people stories another day. If you're interested in hearing about those, be sure to comment down below so I know! So, like I said, the animals in this ride were all real. None of that Jungle Cruise, stiff as a board animatronic stuff in here. No offense to anyone who likes or has worked on the Jungle Cruise. These were all real animals that could do almost anything they wanted in this reserve. And as a driver, it was my job to make sure people could catch a glimpse of these moments themselves within the time they had on the ride. And boy, were there plenty. There was one time I was driving a full bus along a narrow path that had a large stone formation on the left side of it. And sitting right at the top of this formation was a big lion sunbathing, looking down on everything that was passing by. One guy sitting right behind me leaned up to me after I had pointed the lion out and turned my mic off and said, "Hey man, that lion up there, that thing real?" Yep, it's definitely real." "Nah man, you lying." No, I'm not." "Nah man, that thing ain't real, it's just a robot." He kept saying all smug and whatnot. But that lion must have heard every word this guy said, because after that, it then decided to get up, angle itself to my bus, and let out a big roar at that very moment. Everyone on that bus loved it, but that guy, if I could have caught his face in a picture, I would have paid good money for it. His jaw went open, his eyes went wide, and he yelled out, "Oh snap, that thing is real!" It was a beautiful moment, like Simba decided to stand up for himself in that moment and say, "Let me show you where I am in the circle of life, big man." Beautiful. Another animal that always provided some great moments was the hippopotamus. On my normal route, I would take people across a long river area where they could occasionally see many types of birds, reptiles, and the like. However, the main attraction was always the hippo. There would always be several that you could see walking along the riverbed on a clear day, and eventually some would come up on land. When one of the bigger ones would come up on land, I knew why they were doing it, but no one else on the ride did. I'd usually hear a mom say to her kid,
Oh, look there, it's a hippo, see, on the land? Oh, they look so cute, don't they?
and the hippo would be happy to show how cute it was by letting out some of the biggest, nastiest farts you've ever had the pleasure of hearing in your life. This is where I would always make sure to turn my mic off so people wouldn't catch me giggling like a kid who just realized how funny poop jokes could be. Again, if I could have caught these people's faces after a moment like that, I would have. One of the most harrowing moments, however, came when I was close to wrapping up my time at the parks themselves. It was one of my last rides of the week, and I was bringing a group of people past a pasture where cheetahs typically like to lay under some shade trees. I was a few yards away from turning a corner to go around another section of the reserve when all of a sudden, a 5,000-pound white rhino appears from behind the curve I was about to turn into. And it wasn't just walking up to say, "Hi, how you doing? Want to take a pic?" It was mad, and it was running, and it was coming straight towards me and my bus. There was no room for me to turn out of the way, and the people in my bus saw it was coming and decided to calmly assess the situation and not worry about anything happening. I'm just kidding, they started freaking out! So now I have to decide fast what to do. I can either stand my ground and hope this rhino stops on its own, or I can blow my horn and try to dissuade it from hitting me. But if I use the horn, it's possible the rhino could be freaked out even more than it is already. So I hit the brakes, come to a full stop, and pray to God this rhino doesn't leave a scarring memory for the 40 people in my bus. It wasn't until this rhino was less than 5 feet away that it decided to split off its collision course and run to the left. It began thrashing about in the dirt like something had really spooked it. So I called it into the park reserve rangers and drove away before it changed its mind about testing the integrity of my bus. Let me tell you something. You think you've had an adrenaline rush before? Try going head to head with a 2.5-ton rhino and let me know how you feel afterwards. But in all seriousness, don't. You will undoubtedly lose every time.